Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. Now, what are companion videos? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take the second half of the show to take your live comments and questions. However, we often don't have enough time to get through all the comments and questions that get sent in, and especially on Mondays, because we had all the questions that come in Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday, so we get kind of backed up a little bit. But don't worry, we don't want to keep you waiting too long to hear your question answered, so we gather them up and we address them here on companion videos. And I'm not alone today. Joining me once again is Kimberly Curran. Kimberly, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, John. Doing great.
Are we ready to roll here?
We are so ready.
All right, let's get things rolling here. What's first up?
All right, this is coming from Michael W. Hey, John, before you call me crazy, hear me out. What if the cameo is Loki and he shapeshifted into Pietro? That could explain where we went after Endgame. It would set up the Loki series, and technically, Paul Bettany never actually shared a scene with him.
Again, don't forget that just because Paul Bettany was talking about somebody he never worked with, and Elizabeth Olsen in a different interview said there was going to be a big cameo, doesn't mean they were one and the same people. I still doubt Loki because there's no real natural connection other than the fact that he has done something like that before. Sure. And of course, he does have his own series coming up. But again, this show is sharing a story with Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange 2. I expect it's going to come out of there. But then again, still kind of cross my fingers for John Krasinski as Reed Richards. Don't know that that's going to happen. Probably won't happen, but I'm still hoping for it. All right, what's next?
This is from Scotty B. Hey, John, I've been watching your channel for a few years and gotta say, I absolutely love it.
Thank you, Scotty.
First time tipper. So I think I know why WandaVision skipped over the 90s. I'm a mid-80s baby, so as a kid, I watched a lot of sitcoms from the 80s and early 90s. I noticed during those two decades that the sitcoms kind of blurred the lines on what a late 80s, mid-90s sitcom was. They were both infamous for having that cheesy, wholesome family vibe to them. What are your thoughts?
You know, I was thinking about that same thing because, yes, you know, there was the Malcolm in the Middle thing, but then somebody pointed out, wait a minute, Malcolm in the Middle started in the year 2000. What happened in the 90s? You're right. There was a lot of similarities between the sitcoms in the 80s and the 90s. Also, don't forget, they only have so many episodes, right? And there were certain eras they wanted to tackle. Plus, they probably have one or two episodes that don't do the sitcoms. So they had to choose to kind of blend a couple together. And I think, honestly, Scotty, I think you're bang on the money. I think you're 100% right. I think that's exactly why they thought they could meld those two together and kind of get away with it. And really, they did get away with it. It worked perfectly fine. I didn't notice any kind of skips, so we'll see where it goes from there. And thanks for being here, Scotty. And thanks for following the show for so long, man. We appreciate that. All right, what's next?
This is from Kid Me Not. Hi, John. I'm a scientist, but also can write programs. That is the science now. If I want to analyze the data, I will either use Python or R. So it's not unusual for Darcy to know how to hack. I'm currently learning new machine learning. This is our new lab.
Okay, no, listen, I understand that. I get that. But listen, when you have, she is an astrophysicist, all right? And there is a massive, massive difference between being an astrophysicist and, hey, she could be really good at computers. She might even know C++. She might even be able to write Perl. That's going back away. She might even be able to write Perl or whatever. Doesn't matter. For her to have the hacking skills to break into a high government, basically military, top secret arm-like sword, and she can just break into the director's files with a laptop laying around, that's another level. That's another level. And it's just kind of funny that a lot of these movies and TV shows, what they do is, oh, somebody's smart. Oh, then they're a computer hacker too. They're two very different things. But listen, I'm not going to be too hard on WandaVision for doing that because listen, a lot of shows and movies do that. This guy's an excellent car mechanic. Oh, then he can break into the security system at the First National Bank. What? How does that make any sense? But they did it and whatever. Darcy's smart. And because Kat Dennings is so cute, we'll let her get away with it. All right, what's next?
Sergeant Ward says, hey, John, have you seen the trailer for Joe Carnahan and Frank Grillo's Boss Level? It looks really fun. It's like a low-budget version of Edge of Tomorrow. It comes out on Hulu March 5th.
I have not watched this trailer yet, but I remember, God, I was still at Collider when we first talked about the news that they were making this movie, that Carnahan and Frank Grillo were making this. Frank Grillo was just getting into watching his show Kingdom, by the way. Anyway, So it sounded bonkers. It sounded great. I haven't watched the trailer yet, so I can't be on there. But after watching Frank Grillo, who is really, really talented, especially after watching his performance in Kingdom, I didn't finish the whole series, but he's really, really quite good in it. I have no reason to expect anything but high level stuff, so I'm looking forward to it, but I haven't watched it yet. I'll let you know once I do. It
looks awesome.
It does. So you've seen it?
Great cast.
The trailer? Yeah?
Yeah. When I saw Michelle Yeoh pop up, I was like,
Yeoh's in it?
Get it, girl. That's a bad woman. I love her. Naomi Watts is in it. Mel Gibson? Yeah.
How's Naomi Watts in it? She's not like a headline name in this.
Yeah. She's like the love interest, and he's doing whatever he's doing all for her. It looked really cool. And
have you watched
really
Star Trek Discovery at all? I don't know if you're a Star Trek person. Have you watched
I'm
Star
a
Trek
super
Discovery?
Star Trek person, but I have not caught up to Star Trek Discovery.
Okay, I just want to bring that up because you mentioned Michelle Yeoh.
I know she's on it. She's amazing.
I like her a lot.
As soon as I saw her, I was like, game changer. All right.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
What's next?
This is from the Wakandan Forever. Hey, Wakandan sir. Did you see that off in the distance, it looks like some kind of red force field? Wait. Can it be Wanda? Stop. No, things are getting out of hand. We're watching. Don't cross the line. Wakanda can only take so much.
I'm not quite sure what you're referencing. I don't know if is he saying there's some sort of connection between that and the shield that was covering Wakanda?
I think he is.
Maybe. I don't think there's any similarity. I don't think there's any connection there. What Wanda is doing is certainly her own thing, and it is a field to contain a very different, it's almost a different reality in many ways. So, but listen, Wanda was there in Wakanda when those shields went up, and maybe, I don't know, maybe there is something to that. Maybe she decided to take a little bit of that and use it for her own means. I've never thought so up till now. I still don't really think so, but that's a possibility. We'll keep our eyes on that. All right, what's next?
Willow says, just how is a face swap between The Rock and Kevin Hart gonna work, though? They have completely different body types.
That's kind of the joke. That's kind of the gag. Of course, it's just swap them on totally different bodies. That's the gag. That's the fun part of it. Come on, come along with me on this, Willow. Get behind me on this. All right, what's next?
Jeffy Master says, when Mon-R picks up her own phone in episode 6 of WandaVision, you get a glimpse of the phone screen and message. It's fuzzy, but sure, first name is David and last name has a Y, Q, or G in it. Only character I can find fitting is David Allen, a.k.a. Prodigy from the New Mutants.
I doubt it. I mean, listen, the reason why I will doubt that is because they have on 2 occasions, they have very specifically been setting up this tease. I know an astro engineer who might be able to help us with that. Okay, fast forward. All right, my guy is ready to meet us. Not my friend David, not my, no, it's always, I know a guy and my guy is sitting here waiting. They're on their way to meet him. I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, look, that's possible, but I don't think they're going to do that for literally a no-name character from a different universe that had no connection to this that nobody's going to recognize. You set things up like this for somebody the audience is going to recognize. So I don't think it's that. I mean, again, the theories abound. We've been thinking, is it Reed Richards? Is it Rocket Raccoon? Is it something? I maybe Dr. Banner is a possibility, although a different
when
thing.
Somebody's, oh my gosh, Dr. Banner, what would that... Yeah, I don't know what that would be like. I'm loving everybody's theories, by the way. It brings us together. And can I just say that after 2020, it feels so good to have something in common with like such a large group of people that we're all thinking like about WandaVision. It feels good just in the world, in society, that we're all like collectively, the community. It's a good community feeling to share these ideas.
We talk all the time about how one of the great things about movies and television, the thing is this: you can get together in a dark movie theater or gather around a TV or whatever, and it doesn't matter what your sexual orientation, socioeconomical background, ethnicity, nationality, political persuasion, doesn't matter. Yep. I tell this story sometimes. I was at Comic-Con one year, and I had to get an Uber from the house that we were renting into the convention center. And there was, I'm not sure which country specifically, but so the dude, my driver, was some kind of Middle Eastern dude, and he didn't speak real sharp English.
Yeah.
But we passed a billboard, and I don't know what got us on the conversation. We started talking about Lord of the Rings. And for 10 minutes, me and him, different backgrounds,
what it's all about, man.
whatever.
Yes.
And we're just, we're just jazzing on talking about Lord of the Rings and what we love and blah, blah. And then he drops me off, and it's like, that's the thing about this art. This is why movies and these types of things are so important, because it doesn't matter what our diets are. Whatever.
No.
When we start talking about WandaVision, we're all geeking out.
We're all geeking out. I love it.
It's
love
great.
it. It's
all right,
awesome.
Let's move on. What's next?
This is from Playmaker. Oh, you, that one of the commercials in the next couple episodes of WandaVision is a sleep aid commercial. Also, the aerospace engineer has to be Reed Richards. I think he may be a background player for a couple of movies, shows before F4, i.e., he comes around when someone has scientific problems. I could see minor appearances in Ant-Man 3 and Captain Marvel 2 to establish just how smart he is in the MCU with general audiences.
All right, there's a couple of problems there. First of all, over or under, I'm going to take 10%. And the reason why is, remember, I think we only have one commercial left. I think episode 7 is going to be the last episode that we live in the sitcom. I think that it's over after that. Then episode 8, I believe, is going to be an all flashback episode. I don't know this. I'm speculating. But it's going to be a flashback episode that starts at the end of Endgame and takes us right through to when WandaVision begins. And that flashback is going to fill in a lot of the gaps for us. What prompted Wanda to go and get Vision's body? What gave her the idea of setting things up there? Who is the other mystery force behind things? I think all those questions are going to get answered in a flashback. Don't know that. Could be totally wrong. But I do think episode 7, one way or the other, is the final sitcom. That's going to be the final commercial. Sleep aid, that's actually creative thought. Not sure. As far as Reed Richards goes, here's the thing. Reed Richards, you got to understand how Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four are thought of over at Marvel, okay? They are the first family of Marvel. They are not going to bring in Reed Richards as a little side character to kind of put around a few movies and shows and then graduate to getting his own movie, Fantastic Four. He very well may, I don't think it's going to be him, but it could be him. And if it is, it's going to be something that shakes the world that Reed Richards is there. And then we won't see him again until Fantastic Four. They're not going to make him a little side character for a while till he earns his stripes. He is the leader of the first family of the Marvel comic universe. So I just think, while it could be him, it ain't going to be him and then a side character in a bunch of movies that you got to set him up. No, you didn't set up, Ant-Man. Ant-Man just, boom, you start Ant-Man movie. Go, there you go. Most of them do it that way, so that's how I think they're going to handle that. All right, what's next?
All right, Sutheas says, hey guys, so Hayward has been acting director for 3 years now. What about Fury? Isn't he a part of SWORD? Or is that not SWORD that we see him with at the end of Far From Home? I sense that SWORD won't be as much of a team player like S.H.I.E.L.D. was with the Avengers.
I mean, listen, I'm still not sure that S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't still a thing. But John, they ended S.H.I.E.L.D. I know, but they've ended S.H.I.E.L.D. like 3 times. And yet it still ends up being there. I don't think there's anything that is definitively said it's not S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D. could still be a brand. I mean, in the comics, S.H.I.E.L.D. and SWORD both operate at the same time. And so I just don't know. I'm saying I don't know the status of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. I don't know the status. So really, Sutheas, the options are all open and on the table. Maybe Fury isn't working with any Earth agency. I find that unlikely. Maybe it's still S.H.I.E.L.D. Maybe it's part of SWORD. I know, because what he's doing with the Skrulls does seem like something that would fall more under the jurisdiction of SWORD than again in like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., terrible show. In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they do go very intergalactic in that show. So I think the jury is still out on that. I'm still not really sure, but I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. All right, what's next?
From Movie Idiot. Hey, John and Rob. In WandaVision episode 6, did you notice the original Night of the Living Dead playing on the screen in the background when Wanda was talking to her kids? Nice eye.
Not.
Good
did
eye,
you
man.
notice that?
I did not, but
Neither did I.
Wow, good eye, man.
Could there be? You think if that's there could be some kind of? What would it just be for the hell of it, or do you think
it would not be for the hell of it?
It
would not be for the hell of it. Yeah, it's definitely if it's first of all, good eye, but if it's there, it's for a reason. It's for a reason, and but also the theme of dead is strung throughout, and we got that in the last episode when she sees zombie version of her brother. So that theme is really heavy, and maybe it was there just to reference like. You thought you saw one zombie. Here's another one. So,
I mean, at the same time,
yeah,
it is supposed to be Halloween, and it could just be a good Halloween kind of movie that's out and there on the screen, right? I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying, playing devil's advocate, no pun intended. John said devil. That means it's Mephisto. No, I mean, just to play devil's advocate, I mean, it could just be that's Halloween, so they got a cool horror movie playing in the background.
It could, but what I like is that Kevin Feige, because like we said the other day, he's a fan and an executive, which is awesome. But what's so great about Marvel is that for the fans that are really, really looking, they like to reward us.
That's true.
And so, bro, if that's what you saw, good eye. But also, you might get a reward in the end because they do not ignore our love for Marvel. So,
all right, what's next?
From Bojax. Hi, John. I haven't heard people talking about this yet, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier comes out the day after Justice League on HBO Max. Which one do you think will have more viewers over the weekend, and which do you think we will enjoy more?
Okay, so that's two different questions with two different answers. What do I think we'll enjoy more? Well, it depends on who is we in that terminology, right? Look, the reality is this. Everybody knows, except for Sucker Punch. That's the only exception. I like every single Zack Snyder movie. Some I completely love. That being said, that in the Zack Snyder DCEU, his films, half the people hate them. They shouldn't. Man of Steel is a masterpiece of the comic book genre and one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. I contend the most underrated comic book movie ever made, but it doesn't matter that I feel that way. The reality is half the audience hated it, half the critics hated it. It underperformed. Not a lot. I mean, it made money, but it did underperform at the box office, all that kind of stuff. Batman versus Superman comes out. I like Batman versus Superman, but the reality is more than half the people hated it, half the audience hated it. Hell, even Joss Whedon's The Avengers has a higher critic score and a higher audience score than Batman versus Superman. The point is that the reality is a lot of people have already had a good size helping of what Zack Snyder's DCU is, and there are those who like it, like me. So when Justice League comes out on HBO Max, I am probably going to like it because I generally like Zack Snyder stuff. There are some people who've been really looking forward to it, so they're probably going to like it because they like Zack Snyder stuff. But historically, by the math, don't get mad at me for quoting you the math. By the math, a higher percentage of the audience tends to enjoy the Marvel stuff more than they've enjoyed Zack Snyder's DCU stuff. I'm not saying that the majority is right. I'm not saying the majority is wrong. I'm simply saying that's the math. There's no denying that. You can't deny that. A higher percentage of the audience likes the MCU stuff more than they like the Zack Snyder DCU stuff. That may not reflect me, that may not reflect you, but in general, that's the math. And so, with that being observed, I think it's probably a no-brainer to say I think more people will probably like Falcon and Winter Soldier than will like the upcoming HBO Justice League. I think that's clear. Yeah. Which one will actually get more viewers? Well, that's where it gets a little more tricky. Mm-hmm. And here's why it gets more tricky. While the math still says that more people watch the Marvel stuff than watch the DCU stuff, the cult that has been behind, and I don't even use that as in a derogatory way this time around. I mean to say that is to illustrate the level of passion here.
Yeah, yeah.
But the pure cult of people who have really been wanting the Zack Snyder cut every single one of them are going to be tuning in opening day to HBO Max to watch that thing. Whereas, you know, a lot of the people who are going to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, they'll get around to it. They'll get around to it.
Yeah.
So I think a higher percentage of people will prefer Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes, I agree.
But I think particularly in the first 3 or 4 days.
Absolutely.
I just don't know how you say that there won't be more people because there's already such a rabid base that is so looking forward to this. So if I just add this quickly, number one, which one do you think the majority of the people are going to like more? And again, we're speculating out of our asses. We haven't seen either of these things yet. Well, we've seen half of Justice League, but which one are people going to like more? Which is going to get more viewers in that opening weekend?
I think people are, and I'm not a DC hater. Like, I think more people are going to like the Snyder Cut.
Than like what Falcon and Winter Soldier?
But I think more viewers are going to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier because
you're totally opposite from me.
I'm opposite because I've got little ones in my life.
Okay.
And so from just, I'm not a parent. I have them in my life, but from the perspective, we got to remember a lot of kids, you know, love superheroes. And I do like DC very much. I've had problems with some of the films, but from the parent's perspective, or for me as an auntie's perspective, when your kids want to see Superman and it's like, and it's so dark, it's really hard to take them to see the next one because I remember like some of my little ones were like, it's scary. And I'm like, but it's awesome. And they're like, but it's scary. And Marvel keeps it very light. And so Disney Plus, you got a lot of parents on there. So I'm thinking about the parents and the caregivers and those who have little ones. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I can still see the 3-year-old running around the house. I can't really see a 3-year-old running around the house to what they're seeing in Justice League because it's just a little too dark for the little ones. So I think it's more family friendly. Falcon and Winter Soldier, even though I heard there's going to be like some words here and there, I think it's going to be a bit more family friendly and that'll drive higher viewership.
All right. That's actually a good point. All right. What is next?
Ryan Launer says, the Lord of the Rings movies actually predicted what would happen to the Hobbit movies with this line from Bilbo. I feel thin, sort of stretched, like butter scraped over too much bread.
By the way, I love that line. But you know what, Ryan? That's an excellent comparison. That really is
what the Hobbit trilogy in 2020.
I mean, I still think the Hobbit trilogy, look, I think if we remove the Lord of the Rings from our consciousness and just looked at the Hobbit movies, it's a nice series of films. It's solid. It's good. It's nowhere near the level of Lord of the Rings, but it's solid. It's good. But you're right. It's thin, sort of stretched like butter scraped over too much bread. One small book stretched into 3 films was a little bit much. And I really like that analogy, Brian. Well said. All right. What's next?
This is from Miguel Zion. Hi, John. I've been loving WandaVision, and I think the director of the show hasn't been given enough props for his work and commitment.
Her, by the way. Her.
Ah.
I mean, yeah, Miguel said he, but it's her, just so we know.
Nice. Of one, to properly portray the era they're in. The early 2000s episode is so impressive with how they made the episode feel. Give me a sec. Spoiler warning, I think Wanda's dome will reach New York, where obviously Doctor Strange and Peter is. This is one of the reasons they're going to cross over. Maybe this is how they're going to do the alternate Parkers, not through multiverse BS. Thoughts on these?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. After I first watched the episode, I was like, who knows how long that dome is going to grow? It's going to grow crazy. Covering the rest of the state, the rest of the country, the rest of the world. But somebody then pointed out to me was that, no, she stops. Because they were all driving just in front of it, like Jimmy and Monica were driving just in front of it. And then the camera cuts back to Wanda and we see her open her eyes again and the red is there and then the red goes away. So that means she stopped. So I don't think it's reached New York City. I think it reached another half mile or mile. Because remember, they were driving and just keeping in front of it, right? And it didn't seem like she did it for that long. But, she realizes Vision's in trouble, freezes everything, pops the red in her hands. Her eyes open. The eyes are red. Boom! That starts the expansion. And then it comes back to her. Eyes go back to normal. So, I mean, if it continued going, there's no way that Jimmy and Monica made it past New York and that Hayward made it past New York. So I think it's safe to say right there, it stopped. That doesn't discount the rest of your theory, Miguel. I mean, that doesn't mean that the other stuff you're suggesting there can't somehow, some way in a different angle kind of come into play. But I think even though my first thought was it's just going to keep growing, I think people put me straight on that and said, nope, the growing stopped. It was a limited expansion. So, but hey, we'll know for sure once episode 7 starts, but it does seem that it only grew that much. All right. What's next?
This is coming from Bojax. Here's my prediction for MCU Phase 4. WandaVision opens the multiverse and mutants come through during Multiverse of Madness and wreak havoc on the MCU. We get Avengers versus Fox's X-Men, and Wanda says no more mutants, sending them into their own separate reboot universe. Everybody wins. You get a separate X-Men universe, and others get to see the Fox X-Men with Hugh Jackman crossover with the MCU. Okay, I don't actually believe that will happen, but no fun to imagine.
I'll tell you what, Bojax, I love the way your head's working. I love the way your head's working.
I like that.
I agree. That ain't going to happen, but I love it. Listen, who among us wouldn't want to see Hugh Jackman come on back and say, "What's up, bub?" or something like that again. I would kill to see that again. It is a YouTube video I would watch the hell out of, but it's not what they're going to do in the MCU. But I'll tell you, Bojax, dude, I love what you're thinking. I don't know. You're hearing this being played out. You're hearing this theory here, Kimberly. What do you think? Is it something you'd watch?
100%. I would totally watch it. Absolutely. I love what you're thinking, but also the cool thing is, like you said, with what we've been hearing of Spider-Man, that we're living in a world where Jamie Foxx is coming back. So it's one of those crazy, but possible. Like, don't ever stop your imagination, because you know what? You just might be totally surprised.
Well, this is the thing. We keep bringing up. Listen, guys, in a world where Jamie Foxx is coming back as Electro, anything can happen. But no, really. Consider that. Because if you were to have said to me a year ago, "Hey, John, what's more likely? A WandaVision show where she rips open reality and, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine comes through? Or Jamie Foxx is being brought into the MCU as Electro? Which one is more believable?" I'd actually probably say the Hugh Jackman thing is probably more believable. And yet here we are again. It's not going to happen, Bojax. I love the way you're thinking, but a year ago I would have thought it was more believable. All right, what's up next?
This is from Dark Knight Rises. Hi, John. I wanted to donate in memory of the 1-year anniversary of Lynn Cohen's passing. She was briefly in Munich, a favorite Spielberg film of mine, as Golda Meir, maybe 2 scenes, but brought so much moral gravitas and humanity.
First of all, that is awesome. And I never hear anybody talking about Munich, by the way.
That movie was awesome.
I think the reason people don't talk about Munich is because it's a Steven Spielberg movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think there are a number of Steven Spielberg movies that we just kind of let slip because it's like, oh yeah, it's Steven Spielberg. Of course it's great and brilliant.
He's amazing. He's amazing.
Ho hum, yawn. But if it was any other director, I think we would still be talking about Munich. I think we would still be talking about honestly, I still think we would be talking about Warhorse. Nobody talks about Warhorse. Warhorse was fantastic. Anyway, getting back to this. I think it's awesome on a couple of levels, Dark Knight, that you're bringing up that movie, that you're bringing up the actress. So good on you. Thank you for bringing that up and putting that on everybody's radar. So good for you, sir. All right, what's next?
MD says, about the WandaVision 2010s episode, it would be funny if they dressed Evan Peters to look like the annoying kid he played in The Office. Oh, yeah. The Modern Family is owned by Disney ABC, so I can see why they went with that. But maybe they'll do a nod to The Office, too.
You know what? Somebody brought up today on my show, and it was a great point. And they said, they're not going to do The Office because that's an NBC
of the possibility
thing.
Of
but I said,
NBC.
The reality is that you're still allowed to parody it, even if you don't own it. But it seems like Disney, because I said, look, Modern Family's NBC, and I stopped and went, wait a minute, actually, no, Modern Family, which is clearly, in the commercial when one is like, Case of the Mondays, right? That was clearly mimicking Modern Family, not The Office.
Yeah.
And so I sadly, because listen, that was the other thing that kind of went towards the whole Jim thing about John Krasinski maybe showing up as Reed, because imagine that he shows up as Reed Richards. And then they go into the Hex. And remember, now they're in the 2010s. And once they go into the Hex, without acknowledging it, you got John Krasinski and Randall Park dressed like Jim and Asian Jim from The Office. And just like, remember, Wanda came down dressed as Scarlet Witch, but what they say, oh, it's a Sokovian fortune teller.
Yep.
And, Vision is a Mexican wrestler.
Yep.
We obviously know what it is.
And Vision's in an office, and we haven't explored his office. I mean, just a little bit when he kind of, let the guy go with his brain. But the moments that we've been in Vision's office where he works some computer tech thing, we haven't really explored going around to like the different people, and maybe there's a Dwight in there that's super annoying. And so it's possible, but I get it.
Just like they never said she's dressed like Scarlet Witch, and they never said he's dressed like Vision. They just never mention it and just let it be. I mean, a lot of things would have to happen for that to happen, which aren't going to happen, so it's pointless, but wouldn't it be funny? Okay, what's next?
From Casey McNatt. Hey, John, how are you today? After hearing all the speculations and theories of who the engineer that Monica is going to meet is, I see one name that I think hasn't been thrown out there. So I'm just going to say, how about Hank McCoy? I know it's not likely, but we just got Evan Peters in the MCU show. Whether he is playing Quicksilver or not is another story, but anything is possible these days.
Well, I'll tell you what, Casey, I have mentioned Hank McCoy, AK, for those of you who don't know, Beast from the X-Men. I have mentioned Hank McCoy several times. Actually, when I normally mention the options of who the engineer is, Reed Richards, Rocket Raccoon, Forge, and Hank McCoy. Now, I don't think Hank McCoy is specifically an aerospace engineer, but he is the one in the movies that designed the Blackbird, right? I mean, right? Now, of course, the big problem with that is this Evan Peters is not the Quicksilver. I think that's beyond dispute now. I think that this Evan Peters is not the Quicksilver from the Fox-Men universe, which means Kevin Smith has not brought anybody from the Fox universe over yet. And that is, in essence, what they would need to do for it to be Hank McCoy. But listen, he is one of those names that you have to keep in mind because of what his field of expertise is. Let's keep our eyes on that. All right, what's next?
This is from the Wakanda Forever. The show is even better with the new quest on the show. Okay, Rob is a handsome guy and all. Where did you find Kimberly? Making the Wakandans jealous. P.S. What is the Legionnaire's name? The first Italian MMA fighter you saw. Did he win the fight?
I think it's Alessio. Actually, let me just look this up really quickly. UFC Legionnaire. I believe it's Alessio. Let me just double check. Yeah, Alessio Sakara is the name of the fighter. And yes, he did win that fight. As a matter of fact, I don't think he's on the UFC roster anymore. This was a little while back, but I really did like Alessio Sakara. Okay. Anyway, well, I'll tell you how I found Kimberly. This is how I found Kimberly.
I don't know how I got here. How did I get here?
What happened? Why don't I remember anything
Why don't I
before
remember
Saturday?
anything before the John Campea Show?
A little Stepford Wives going on. No, so how I found Kimberly was, and a little bit inside baseball. So you guys know, because I had Ray come into that, I had really been desperately trying to get some help doing companion videos. It makes it a lot easier on me physically, like with my throat and everything, but also it's a lot more fun when you have somebody you can bounce off of now and again, brings a different level, a different personality, different level to it. And I just thought, and it helps things move a little bit faster, to be honest with you. So I did what I normally do. I went on, there's a casting agency that I use. I went to this casting agency and I sent out, hey, I'm looking for somebody for this, to do this. And I got in 2 days, I got 300 resumes, and there was about 10 that stood out to me. And one was from this girl who said, I've actually been watching the show for years. And by the way, I actually live fairly close to where you are now, because I was thinking that I was going to have to get somebody in LA and we'll have to do it over Skype, which is fine, but it's never as good as being in the same room with each other, right?
Yeah,
the chemistry is just different. Even when Rob and I do the show together, it's great doing it over Skype, but when Rob and I are in the same room, it's just, the energy is just a little bit better. And so I got a hold of Kimberly, By the way, in case you couldn't tell, Kimberly was the person. So I got a hold of Kimberly and I said, look, I watched your videos and you seem to have a really great charisma on camera. You seem very natural. You're close. Do you want to just come in tomorrow and we'll do a test run together?
Yeah.
And you came in.
Yeah.
She hated it, but
Hated it.
No, when we talked afterwards and you've been here since and
Yeah,
this is
it's
a weird
amazing.
place to ask you. You having a good time? Are you enjoying yourself so far?
So much, and it's so surreal because I really have been watching the show for years, and it means so much to me. Film means so much to me in the community, and I told you I had been watching you on Collider.
Yeah.
And so I've been watching for a long time and just so appreciate this community, like the viewers, the questions. I'm like, these are my people. This is my tribe. So this is phenomenal. Yeah, I totally hate it. Yeah.
And you know, I haven't told her this, and I'll never tell her this personally, but she's been great. She's been great. Don't let that go to her head, though. Okay. All right.
It won't.
All right. What's next?
Dark Knight Rises says, "Hi, John. I'm watching your Prince of Peace, God of War.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I'm typically from a different place theologically and politically, but it's an interesting premise with interesting interviews. The documentary looks well done."
Okay, so Prince of Peace, you guys know I have a documentary out right now called Movie Trailers, A Love Story. Go and check it out. If you live in the UK or the US, it's on Amazon right now. Everywhere else in the world, it's on Vimeo. But actually, the first documentary I ever did ages ago was called Prince of Peace, God of War. It's not even in HD. I mean, I shot with a little Canon GL2 camera. I threw some cheap lights in my camera in a car, and I drove all over Canada and the US doing these interviews. And the basic principle of Prince of Peace, God of War was this. There is an interesting division within the church. And in the church, there is two different trains of thought. The original church fathers believed that no Christian can ever be involved with the military, with government, with violence in any way. That was the way the church started. And it was always agreed upon that when you go back to the writings of the earliest church fathers, that it was always the way it was until the Roman Emperor Constantine converted. And once the Roman Emperor Constantine converted, then came the doctrine known as just war, or what was known as the just war theory. And the Christian church at that point went from being no killing, if you're a follower of Jesus, no killing, no violence at all, period, to, well, you know, this is where theologians like Thomas Aquinas and a number of others would came along, and it's like they created these things such as just war theory. It says, well, no. If you are Christian, you can serve in military and you can take life and you can kill people, blah, blah, under certain circumstances. Now, moving on from that, there's an interesting that up till today, and I made this documentary, I believe in the final days of the George W. Bush presidency, I believe. But you had a real division within the church. Half, a lot of church people thinking, yeah, it was great. Half the church thinking, no, this is not something we should be participating in, blah, blah. So I thought I would do a documentary looking at, and I traveled North America. I went all across Canada and the US, and I talked to a bunch of professors, scholars, theologians, things like that, and got both sides of the just war theory versus the pacifist movement theory. And to me, it was really fascinating doing it. So anyway, long answer to, yeah, that was my original documentary. And thank you, Dark Knight Rises, for checking it out. I really appreciate that. Okay, what's next?
From Russell Amador. "Hey, John, just starting to think here after viewing Doctor Strange for the umpteenth time, but now that the time stone is presumably gone, so is the Doc's bargaining power as well, right? Is this Dormammu's chance to finally finish the job he started?"
That's the thing that's been brought up a lot. Like, personally, I think there's a little bit of an honor among thieves. Dormammu bargained, never come back to Earth again. And I don't know if Dormammu would ever know if the Eye of Agamotto was gone, that the Time Stone was gone. I don't know that he would ever know that. Not to mention, I'm sure once Strange becomes the Sorcerer Supreme, he'll be able to have a few other tricks up his sleeve as well. But look, there are some people much smarter than me that even think Dormammu might be a part in WandaVision, which I don't. But like I said, there are people smarter than me who think he might be. Personally, I don't think we're ever going to see Dormammu again. I think he played his role. in the first Doctor Strange, and I honestly think they're never going to go back to him again. I don't know that. No insider information, just speculating as a fan, but there we are. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, what are your thoughts on David Lynch? I looked at his filmography recently and realized that though I have heard of him a lot, I've only seen What Did Jack Do? The super strange short on Netflix with the monkey. Good first Lynch film to start on?
I don't know if that's a good first one to start on, but look, David Lynch is one of these directors. Not quite like, what's the European dude's name? I'm forgetting the name of the one director, but I was going to say he's like a couple of other of the auteur directors. He is a director that is brilliant, but will never be for everybody. You know what I mean? When you talk about David Lynch films. And so when you go through his filmography, there'll be some names that really jump out and stand out, and some that you'll go, what? What's that? Because his films just are not for everybody. Even though he is an artist, he's artistically brilliant. But he's just one of those, when you get these really stylized filmmakers, they will often have that little bit of a divide there, that when you go that stylized, you're going to get some people that really do believe the inherent brilliance of your work, but you're also going to be alienating some people as well, the more stylized you become. Not that a real stylized director can't be mega popular. They can, but it's a tough thing, and that's kind of just how I see Lynch. All right, what's next?
All right, this is coming from It's Cold, So Don't Judge Me. Hey, John Campea from TV's The John Campea Show. What movie do you wish they would redo or do a sequel to, but probably never will? Mine is Rampage.
Wow.
It was a fun monster movie, and I know it's probably done, but I would love another to happen. Thanks.
Okay, so Rampage is a movie that had no business making the kind of money it made, but of course it had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson starring in it, so it made way more money than it had any business making. But it was fun. I didn't think it was a great movie, but it was fun. I had more fun with it than it really should have. In a lot of ways, it didn't make sense or anything. But look, in the questions of what movie would I have remade and which movie do I desperately want a sequel to that they never will, it's always the same answers, okay? To the question of which one should they remake, it is Megaforce. Life is like a wheel, it all comes around. It was a G.I. Joe movie back before they made a G.I. Joe movie, where the head of Megaforce was this guy literally named Ace. That was his name. And Rob and I will often debate about Megaforce. He thought it was utterly terrible, as many people do. But I loved Megaforce. I thought it was great. And so Megaforce is one that I would redo. The one about which one would be a sequel I would desperately want done that they will never do, always the same answer. It is a movie that was way ahead of its time. Ben Stiller, Hank Azaria, William H. Macy, Paul Rubens, Jeannie Garofalo, Casanova Frankenstein, Captain Amazing, The Disco Boys. It's Mystery Men. Mystery Men is a movie that needs a sequel so badly. Now, 20 plus years later, get all these cats back together again. They've been a hero team for 40 years or what, I don't know, 20 plus years. Somehow bring back Greg Kinnear's Captain Amazing. Somehow bring back Casanova's Frankenstein. I don't care. That's the one. Kimberly, if you had to choose a movie to remake and a sequel that never got a sequel, like a film that never got a sequel that you totally want done, which movies do you go to?
There's a very old movie. I love martial arts movies, and actually has nothing to do with the t-shirt. Well, it does, but I love martial arts movies. There's this one called, it's got two names, The Seven Ninja Kids. It's also called Lucky Number 7. And there's these 7 kids, and they're all ninjas. But in the movie, the martial arts, the technique, they're like 7 Jet Lis. These kids are amazing. What they're doing is crazy. Like it's amazing. I would love to see that remade. Right. I would absolutely love to see that remade. A sequel that I'd like is, I would have to say, Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon.
Wow.
Show Enough needs to come back, man. I want to see that. I also want to see, just like they brought back Cobra Kai.
Right.
I'd love to see The Last Dragon on Netflix. It's like the urban version of Cobra Kai, you know, Show Enough, you know, show me some moves. I would love to see that. I think it would do really well as a series on Netflix. So yeah, they're not very known movies, but Seven Ninja Kids, yeah. I'd like to see some awesome martial arts in a kids movie come back.
Unlike a lot of people, my cutting my teeth as a kid on martial arts films wasn't the classic kung fu movies. That came later for me. Me cutting was the very Americanized. But do you remember the Shokasagi movies like Revenge of the Ninja and like all those, like there were all these ninja movies that came out in the 80s, and like every single one of them.
I've seen those with my uncle. He is just diehard. Yeah.
And he did this. I'm trying to remember the name of he did one with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
American Treasure, by the way.
Not
American,
or
but
Belgian, whichever, whatever he is.
Yeah.
But where Jean-Claude Van Damme played a Russian agent, and he played an American agent. Shokasagi played an American agent, and I think it's something Eagle. I can't remember what the name of it is exactly, but I grew up on those ones. Then later on, I got into the classic kung fu, and like my all-time favorite is one called Shaolin versus Lama, which I will talk about every once in a while on this show. Have you seen Shaolin versus Lama?
I don't remember all the films by name because it's constantly between my dad and my uncle. It's constant. And I'm like, what are we watching today? I'm going to have to ask my uncle about that.
Shaolin or Lama in them.
Yeah.
Shaolin versus Lama.
I'm going to have to see that.
Where one of my favorite all-time movie lines is, if you defeat me, you can be my master, and you may beat me with this stick for my insolence. It's like one of the greatest lines ever. And then the bad guy at the end loses. And
yes, I know what you're talking about.
This is the most ridiculous ending in the history of any movie. He's standing in the water, and he literally, open palm, starts slapping himself in the head, yelling, "I must die to prove Buddha exists." And as he's open palming, smacking his head, blood starts spraying out of his mouth and his ears and his nose. And then he dies from slapping himself in the head. It is the craziest thing. Shaolin versus Lama. Make sure you check it out. Okay, sorry. I got a sidetrack there. What's next?
This is coming from Dark Knight Rises. In a streaming age, do you foresee the possibility of the return of the 80s type miniseries, i.e. remakes of The Thornbirds, Lonesome Dove, etc.?
Well, I mean, listen, we live in the age of the streaming war where content is life to these folks, right? So I think everything is going to be fertile ground and open source for people to go and look at to see where is their IP we can do. I mean, there's going to be tons of original stuff, tons and tons and tons and tons of original stuff, but they're also going to be looking, there's just not enough. So they're going to be looking for other things as well. So yes, I absolutely believe that we're going to get, I mean, we're seeing right now the return of the miniseries. They're calling it limited series now, but really we're seeing the return of miniseries. And I do expect at some point we will see them go to the 80s stuff as well. All right, what's next?
This is from Caleb. If you were given infinite money to create your own biopic, who would you have write it, direct it, and star in it? I'd choose Cary Joji Fukunaga to direct from a Taylor Sheridan and Simon Pegg script with Ty Sheridan starting.
I love your selection there, Caleb, but I don't do the fantasy football game. When a guy, I don't, I mean, listen, you start with who, to me, is the single greatest filmmaker of all time. It's Steven Spielberg. So any kind of fantasy draft for me would always just start and end with Steven Spielberg. And as long as Steven Spielberg is there, everything else is fine. Whatever you do, you could get me writing it. You can get Robert Meyer Burnett doing catering. You could get, or me running errands. I don't care. Doesn't matter if it's Steven Spielberg there. Other than that, I don't do the whole fantasy lineup. But Tyler Sheridan, by the way, how good is this dude? Right? As a writer, as a director. Hell, I even liked him as an actor in Sons of Anarchy. This dude is gold and great, and I love Simon Pegg. By the way, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost just had their Amazon show canceled. The ghost busting one they do. Just got canceled after one season.
That's on my list. Yeah. I have a list because there's way too much stuff out there. That's on my list.
I feel bad because it was on my list too, and I never watched it. So I'm part of the problem why it got canceled. But that was sad to hear. All right, what's next?
From Dark Knight Rises. Given his method of acting, what do you think Daniel Day-Lewis would have done if he had played 1. Batman Bruce Wayne, 2, Count Dracula. Ooh. 3, a traditional old school version of Sherlock Holmes. Wish he acted with Streep, Hopkins, and Oldman.
Well, I mean, in asking the
Great question, man. Wow.
What would he do with it? He would act the shit out of it. I mean, he would be the best. I mean, notwithstanding how good the story and script and rest of the movie is, but he would probably be the best Batman of all time. He would probably be the best Dracula of all time, and he'd probably be the best Sherlock Holmes of all time. Daniel Day-Lewis is simply the GOAT. He is the greatest there has ever been. He is the Bret the Hitman Hart of acting. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. It's just that simple. So he would act the shit out. And you're right. There are some combinations I would have loved to have seen, but the problem is not a lot of people were going to line up to act in a movie alongside of Daniel Day-Lewis because of what happened to Paul Dano. Paul Dano gave the performance of a lifetime in There Will Be Blood. I argue it was Oscar nomination worthy. And he did get nominated in a lot of other awards for his performance in that, for Best Supporting Actor, but the Oscar should have given him a Best Supporting Actor. The problem is Daniel Day-Lewis gave, in my opinion, the single greatest lead performance by a male in any movie in Hollywood history. And it totally overshadowed the brilliant work that Paul Dano did. And that's why people like Streep, Oldman, things like that, they simply weren't going to appear in a movie with Daniel Day-Lewis. Leo DiCaprio did with Gangs of New York. But you think of Gangs of New York, all anybody thinks about is Daniel Day-Lewis as Bill the Butcher. Right? That's the only, or as the Bill, was it Billy or Bill? I keep forgetting the name of the character. Anyway, that's all they think about. That's all they think about. And like even in a movie with an Academy Award winning actor like Leonardo DiCaprio. And that's just the thing. Like he's so good that I don't think we ever would have seen that. I mean, he really is the best there's ever been. And yeah, so that's kind of my take on that. All right. Sorry about that. What's next?
The Wakanda Forever says, my 2 favorite wrestling personas are The Undertaker and Sting, the Crow version. Do you have a favorite wrestling costume? P.S. I would say the Attitude Era is my favorite wrestling era. During the Monday Night War, were you a WWE or a WCW fan?
Yeah, that was right in the heart of when I really was following wrestling. It's back during the Monday Night Wars. I mean, I really liked what was going on in WCW, like with the formation of the NWO and all that kind of stuff. That was really cool when you had, when you had Razor Ramon and Diesel in the WWE, and then they go by their real names in WCW, Hulk Hogan, they formed the faction, all that kind of stuff. But I was always a WWE guy. As far as the best costumes ever in WWE, I don't know. I mean, Demolition were pretty awesome. Here comes the axe, here comes the smasher, the demolition. I mean, it's terrible music, but hey, it is what it is. I used to love their costumes. The Road Warriors were always great. And the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, they had great outfits too. But I'm gonna stick with Demolition. But I'm sure if I had more time to think about it, I would think of some others. All right, what's next?
Manny G says, "Hey John, in Wanda previews, we hear Vision say, 'We got to fight for it.' That was a horrible voice.
I thought Paul Bettany was in the room right there. I had to look around. So he's pretty Bettany here.
Pretty bad, but I care. So to Wanda referring to the town, I thought teamwork against the big baddie, but now I'm convinced they're going to fight each other, thus resulting in her killing Vision in her madness.
Yeah, I'm not quite. I think that's a sneaky little thing. Listen, there have been a lot of things in these teasers and in Marvel, other properties as well, where they drop something in the trailer that totally makes you think one thing, but it's completely something else. And I believe the line he says is, well, then let's fight for it. Again, that was no better of a Paul Bettany than you just did. But look, hook or by crook, one way or the other. This imitation Vision, who really believes he's Vision, but he's not, he's not getting out of this. And when he dies, whether it's by Wanda's hand, again, because she's killed him once already, although it was voluntarily and needed to happen. But whether it's she kills him again or Sword accidentally kills him, which totally pisses off Wanda. Either way, it's going to left Wanda even more broken, and we'll see. They teased Wanda and him going toe-to-toe, and Vision, if you understand the comics and you know just how powerful Vision is, like him and Wanda fighting would be a sight to see. But I don't know. All I know is that he's going to die one way or the other, whether it's by Wanda's hand or not. I'm not sure. If you had to guess right now, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you think Vision gets out of this. I personally don't. But if he doesn't, is he going to die by Wanda's hand, or is somebody else going to take him out, only pissing off Wanda more?
I don't necessarily think it's going to be by her hand per se, but again, because we don't know if she created all this. Right. But like when he walked out, in my head, what I am envisioning is that it's going to be a situation where, you know, the showdown happens and she's going to come to a place possibly of acceptance of saying, I've got to stop this. I have to let these people go. And there might be a moment where people walk through and walk back to their regular lives. But like we saw, when Vision walks through, he starts dying. He starts breaking apart. So I don't think it'll be by her hand. I think it'll be her saying, you know what, I got to stop, and comes to peace with the fact that I'm keeping everyone captive and you, whatever you are. And I know Vision, it's not like he has a soul and his spirit, you know, he's like a robot or whatever. But when he finally goes through, he's going to die. So I don't think it'll necessarily be by her hand, but I know he'll definitely die. So
you kind of think this is going to end in a Wonder Woman 84 way, where she has to go, I undo my wish.
I kind of do. And I think because it could go one of two ways. If we're going to Multiverse of Madness, I can see him dying again, making her just like malfunction or depending on if they're wanting to wind this story down and just with the appearances of whoever's, you know, the aerospace engineer, move on to something else. If they are winding it down, she could come to a place of peace where she's like, I gotta let you go. I gotta let go. And comes to peace with like, you're dead. You're not alive. I gotta stop. So yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
No, it ain't gonna be that pretty.
Who knows?
It ain't gonna be that beautiful.
That sounds really nice, but no.
Kind of piggybacking on what you said.
Yeah,
I think his death could very well be as a result of the hex coming down, but I don't know that it's going to be Wanda voluntarily doing it. I think they just find a way to bring the hex down, but the byproduct of that is Vision dying again. Again, I think, and I could be wrong. I could be very, very wrong.
But there's no survival rate for him outside of the, I mean, he could barely say these people need help before his face was like, it was face off in another way. Like he just started breaking apart.
And that's vibranium ripping apart. And
that's
right. I think this show ends with Wanda madder, more broken, and more enraged,
more crazy
than when the show began. I think this ends in a very, very bad way, and it ends with Wanda being even more broken. I don't see it. I mean, you could be 100% right, but I don't see it ending with Wanda coming to peace and saying, I have to let you go. That just seems too zen. I think this ends with Wanda being very upset. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they give it a happy ending. Okay. What is next?
The Wakandan Forever says, years ago, before I became the Wakandan, I needed motivation and self-esteem, so I joined a local fight gym. When I watch fights, I know how they feel. I know you are a UFC fan and trained MMA. What was your reason for joining the gym?
Well, I mean, like a lot of kids, when I was a kid, I went to Huntington Park Community Center, where that's where in Hamilton, Ontario, they had some karate class. They had karate classes there. And that's where I went as a kid, and that's where I got started. Now, a few years later, I wasn't in karate anymore, but me and some buddies watched. We didn't see the first one, but we tuned in and watched UFC 2. And we watched this scrawny little spaghetti man by the name of Royce Gracie ripping through and destroying monsters. This scrawny little spaghetti man from Brazil, using jiu-jitsu and wearing a stupid-looking gi, that's what we were thinking at the time, coming in and taking on 300-pound guys, pulling them in, never seen this before, pulling them into guard, and then once he pulled them into guard, he would do these strike heel kicks to the liver and kidneys, and that now they know how to defend it, but at the time they never did, and then ultimately just choking them the hell out. And I remember all my buddies at the time were like, we want to learn how to do this. And that it was UFC 2 with Royce Gracie back in the era of like Ken Shamrock was in that era as well. This is even before Dan Severn and all these guys. it was it was that. It motivated just like a lot of other people that got started. That's what motivated me. All right, what is next?
The Wakandan Forever says, once in a street fight, I was sucker punched and knocked unconscious. Ugh.
Not fun.
When I started training and sparring, I would get minor injuries or tap, but never got put to sleep. Have you ever, while been sparring, knocked out or choked unconscious while sparring in the gym?
No, never been knocked out. I think most people have probably never had the experience of actually being knocked out. I mean, I've been hit for sure. But I think most people have probably never actually had the experience of having their actual lights put out. Some have. I think most people haven't. And no, I'm far too smart to not tap. When somebody's got me, I would know when I'm
not trying to be the hero.
No being a hero for me. I remember this one time I was sparring this one dude. And he got me down. He got me in a beautiful triangle.
Yeah.
He got me it was the first time I had ever been put in a triangle.
Yeah.
During rolling on the mats, right? It was the first time I'd ever really been put in a triangle. And this guy had it sunk in deep. And it wasn't clean. His one leg was under the arm. But even then, I was like, I tried 1 second to try to move. And I realized immediately, I cannot get out of this. And
Get me out.
There's no point in trying to act like a tough guy. I'm like, I give, you win,
Really?
I lose, you win.
That's crazy.
So no, I have never been so stubborn as to refusing. I know when it's locked in. And I am more than happy to give.
I know it's like to watch people. I come from a martial arts family, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. My dad he did martial arts for like 20 years, was in corporate world for the longest. And when he turned 50, he was like, you know what? I'm passionate about this. And at 50, my dad went back into Campio. At his first competition, he fought a guy that was like 30. And we were like, Dad, we believe in you. But oh my God, whooped his arse. So proud. But yeah, I used to compete and stuff, but got in a really bad accident and had to stop. But then 7 years ago, I got back in. I trained for about a year. I competed and I got first place in sparring in Kempo, not UFC.
Right.
But yeah, I feel you on that level. Not so much UFC, but
Kempo used to be super popular in my hometown.
Yeah. My dad, my uncle.
That's awesome. All right. Anyway,
I feel you, man. Qui-Gon Jinn in Tonic says, John, your wishes have been fulfilled. WandaVision 6 episodes have been totaled 209 minutes, leaving 151 minutes left. Average of 50 minutes per episode. Rumors of Feige saying the last 3 episodes are each 1 hour long. Either way, we will still have a lot of WandaVision to get through.
Okay, there's a good news, bad news situation here, Qui-Gon. And that is this. You're seeing a bunch of reports running around right now saying, Kevin Feige confirms that the final 3 episodes of Wanda are going to be an hour long each. But the thing is, Kevin Feige never said that. What Kevin Feige said a while ago is that WandaVision is like a 6-hour movie. So today, a lot of people are taking that statement literally and saying, well, so far, they've only been about 30 minutes each. So we've only really, after 6 episodes, we've only really had about 3 hours, which means each of the last 3 episodes are going to be an hour long each, as confirmed by Kevin Feige. And the thing is, that's not what he said. That is taking something he said previously and interpreting it in light of where we're at. So look, first of all, when he said like a 6-hour movie, I'm sure it is not exactly 6 hours. It could be a little shorter. Hell, maybe it's a little bit longer. Also, each episode has not been 30 minutes. They've all been varying length. One was over 40, a couple 37, whatever. That means these things are going to be thick. Plus, I mean, if it is 6 hours, then yes, we're probably in for 45 to 50-minute episodes for each of the last 3. I hope that's the case. But I'm not counting on that because, again, all these headlines you're seeing of Feige confirms, no, he didn't. That's us taking a previous statement he made, trying to apply it literally to the current thing of what we got, and then trying to do the Rain Man math on it and saying that means we're going to get this long episodes. Maybe yes, maybe no. I'm not saying we're not. Be clear. Don't misinterpret me. I'm not saying we're not. I'm just saying don't go into it counting on that, because if you turn on episode 7, it says 44 minutes, I thought Kevin Feige confirmed that it was going to be an hour. No, he didn't. And maybe it will be an hour. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm just saying, don't get too invested in that just yet. Let's just see what it is. And hopefully you're right, and hopefully it will be that long. All right, what's next?
Scott Irvin says, "Hey, John and friends. I was watching WandaVision and noticed that the theater in episode 6 was called Coronet and it had a crown above the name. I was theorizing about the show, then it hit me. Look up a poem called The Coronet by Andrew Marvell."
Well, Scott, I am not going to do that right now. Listen, guys, if you have a theory when you write it in what it is you're thinking and write it in specifically. Don't say, John, stop the show and go look up this thing and go read this poem. I can't do that right now. But Scott, I will. I'm sure there are a lot of people right now who are watching this video that are pausing the video to go and check that out. And maybe you're onto something. I paid no attention to that. This might be a situation where we're trying to read too much into anything. But hey, man, if you just found a really cool little Easter egg, good on you for that, if that's what you found. All right, what's next?
Kirk Novak says, "I think the person who ends Vision is Vision.
Maybe.
He'll choose death or self-sacrifice to save the people of Westview. Wanda is making selfish choices, so Vision will make a selfish one. And what about Billy? He's destined to become, Demiurge. Did I say that right? After all."
Well, I mean, listen, Vision being the one to end Vision isn't bad because that would still lead to Wanda's rage. So that is definitely a possibility. That Vision would say, Wanda, me doing this again, terrible.
Way better than mine,
Ringo
though.
Starr in there with Paul Bettany. I don't know. Wanda, we can't do this, Wanda. So that's definitely a possibility. As far as Billy, I don't think the kids are getting out of this. There are a lot of theories out there that Billy and the twins are going to get out. They're going to be part of Young Avengers and all this and everybody's come up with these great big grand theories. And maybe I don't think the kids are getting out of this, leading again to Wanda being real pissed when this is all done. So that's kind of my take on that. Vision being the one to end Vision, not bad. I can buy into that. I don't know that's my number one theory, but I can buy into that one. But again, I don't think the twins are getting out. I think this ends again, to be consistent with all the rest of Wanda's life, this is going to end tragically. So that's kind of my take. All right, what's next?
Andy M says, "I was wondering, with Disney Plus coming out with Star, the hub for adult content, will Marvel outside of Deadpool take advantage of the platform? Could the new Avengers, if that happens, be used as a contrast to the more adult stories? Love the show."
Nope, no chance. I mean, listen, what Star is going to be for a lot of markets is where they don't have Hulu. Because right now, that's where Disney puts a lot of the more mature stuff, the FX stuff, all that sort of thing. Like one of the big things of content that's going to be on Star is, the stuff that's on Hulu, because a lot of markets don't have Hulu. That's my best understanding of it at that point. So Bob Iger seems open to the idea of trying some more adult-leaning stuff, but he ain't going to mess with his goose that lays the golden eggs. And that's the Avengers, the main core of the MCU, all that kind of stuff. That is family appropriate, not kid targeted, but family appropriate. I mean, look at Endgame. I mean, Endgame is frightening and scary. We're talking about the elimination of half-life in the universe, right? So that's pretty heavy. But as far as more adult theme, like, are we going to see Vision and Wanda banging on the couch? No, and nor do we need to see that, right? That's not important to it. So playing around with Blade, Deadpool, maybe a little Ghost Rider in there. I don't know that. Maybe a little Ghost Rider in there. But will they do that to the main core of the MCU and violate the trust that Bob Iger has spent ages cultivating between the parents and the brand? And I don't think they're going to do that. So I don't think you're going to see them messing around with the Avengers proper, at least. So that's my take on that. Could be way wrong, though. I mean, that's just me speculating, but that's my thought. All right, what's next?
The Wakandan Forever says, "A Luke Skywalker cameo. We need an original hero, an icon. I dare say a franchise. I feel Marvel is going to go all the way John Peter Parker Spider-Man. Disney, mic drop. You're welcome." P.S. We love you, Kimberly. Fill out your Wakandan membership card.
All right, here's the problem with the Peter Parker Spider-Man thing. Who cares? And by that, John, are you disrespecting Spider-Man? No. But Spider-Man is a current, regular, ongoing appearance in the MCU. He pops up in Civil War. He's got 2 of his own movies. He was in the Avengers films. He's got his 3rd movie coming up. I mean, what's the big... that's the thing. What's the big deal of Peter Parker popping up? I mean, don't get me wrong. It'd be really cool if Peter Parker swings in and says, hey, guys, can I help? Do. Well, then, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. But is that the thing that shakes the world? Does that shock the world? No, he is a current, ongoing, regular member of the MCU already. That's why I don't think like Doctor Strange showing up that's not earth-shattering. He pops up all the time in the MCU. Spider-Man is everywhere in the MCU. Nick Fury, even less of a shock, as Nick Fury pops up everywhere. So while it would definitely be cool, I don't think it would be that earth-shattering moment that we're kind of looking for or referring to. So yeah, that's my thought. All right, what's next?
Charlie Uptown says, hey, John, I don't believe WandaVision episode 6 skipped the 90s. I felt the Malcolm in the Middle vibes, but what came to mind first was the 90s TV show Party of Five with Neve Campbell, Scott Wolf, and Jennifer Love Hewitt. Your thoughts?
I didn't watch Malcolm in the Middle. I never saw Malcolm in the Middle.
Love the show.
So, I mean, awesome. So like you, my wife, Ann, our friends Aaron and Tom, like when that was all starting up, Ann, Aaron, and Tom were all like, Malcolm in the Middle. I'm like, what? Like, I had no idea.
Yep.
I have seen Party of Five.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy Ryan, who's coming over to my house a little bit later to help me do some stuff around here, he is a major Jennifer Love Hewitt crush. As a matter of fact, Campio, where you can get
messages and people say, happy birthday.
Yeah. I actually, for my buddy Ryan, I got Jennifer Love Hewitt to send him a thing. I believe he still has it on his phone.
That's awesome.
But I did watch some Party of Five, and I did not get Party of Five vibes from that at all. Did you ever watch Party of Five?
I did. Yeah. I didn't get those vibes. Only with like, I guess the cinematography, the way it looked, the hues, I feel you there with like the lighting and stuff. I feel you there, but like they never broke the fourth wall, and so I in terms of vibes, I feel you, but not too much.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Too much. What is next?
Chuck the Mystery says, hey, John and Rob, there was a big discussion on the show about a week ago that the CW Arrowverse might be coming to an end, but now Flash has been picked up for season 8, Batwoman for season 3, and Naomi is moving forward. Does this change your views on this?
All right.
Sorry.
No, okay. So what you've got to remember is that what I said at the time wasn't, the Arrowverse is winding down. It's going to be done in the next 12 hours. No, I said I give it a couple more years. And then I feel they're going to start to wind it down. So yeah, Flash got a new renewal. We had 1 or 2 other things get renewals as well. Of course, we've got the Superman and Lois show launching. But I believe that, I said maybe 2 more years after this year. So we've got this new season and then maybe 2 more. But I still believe that that's going to be it. I believe they're going to wrap it up. We've heard some rumors about HBO and CW maybe entering it into some kind of co-production deal. I don't honestly think that's going to go anywhere. So I would say, yep, we got this new season of Flash and this new season of CW stuff. And then maybe 2 more seasons after that. I think maybe at most 2 more seasons. And then I think they're going to wrap it up. And I think they're really going to turn. Look, we've seen how desperate they are to try to get HBO Max stuff going, right? They're desperately trying to drive people to that service. And so I think they're going to go, why would we spend our energy and all that kind of stuff continuing on the CW verse when we really should be putting our energy into HBO Max and really building up the DC worlds there? And so, yeah, I wasn't surprised to hear that Flash, as to say, got a renewal. I wasn't surprised to hear a couple other things going too, because I still expected a couple more years. But I'm telling you, after this season, 2 more years, I think. I think it'll be 2 more years and then they'll be done. So I'm not surprised about the renewals, but that doesn't change what I think about exactly how much longer they go. I think they are in the final stages. I think they're getting ready to wind it down. I could be wrong. No one's telling me that from Warner Brothers. It's just, that's kind of my take on it. All right. What is next?
Chuck also says, I agree with you. The character of Superman has been very poorly used in the Arrowverse up until now. But with Superman getting his own show later this month, do you think this will change? And what are your thoughts on the very cinematic trailers for it?
Couldn't give two squirts of urine about the trailers for Superman and Lois. I've given up on CW's ability. I've given up on CW's ability to properly treat Superman the way Superman should be treated. And until they prove me otherwise with this Superman and Lois show, I just continue to believe they'll just probably mishandle him. They mishandled him for years on the Supergirl show. They horribly treated that character with incredible amounts of disrespect. So I don't believe they can do any better. I'm open to them doing better. I hope I start hearing from my viewers that, hey, John, this Superman Lois show is actually awesome. If that happens, I'll give it a shot. But for now, they have earned my distrust. CW and their handling of Superman has earned my distrust as far as Superman the character. I love a lot of the stuff they've done, but their handling of Superman is nigh unforgivable. So until I hear from a lot of my audience to say they love it, it's dead to me. It's dead to me. All right, what's next?
Playmaker says, I'm on to the idea that the MCU is going to mix Nightmare and Mephisto since the devil doesn't work in China. The character will probably be named Nightmare and have elements of Mephisto to him, similar to how Hela was a mix of different characters.
Well, Playmaker, we talked about this on the show, that there have been times in the MCU that they have kind of made amalgamations of various characters or various events into one thing that's been adapted for the screen. And it's absolutely a possibility that we could get a character that is an amalgamation of elements of Mephisto, maybe of Nightmare, or maybe none at all. Like, I'm still kind of believing that we're not going to get Mephisto or Nightmare. But because of that Yo Magic commercial, I am warming up to the idea of Nightmare. I got to admit, I'm warming up to the idea of Nightmare. Maybe we see that. Maybe that commercial kind of pointed to that. Don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. But you are bang on the money, Playmaker. They absolutely have in the past, and they will continue to in the MCU, take concepts, events, situations, storylines, and even characters and mix them in with other things to create one entity using the dynamics of several entities that were in the comics. So you're right about that, and I think that is a possibility. All right, what's next?
James Hoffman says, I love the new Snyder Cut Justice League trailer that dropped today. It looks way more epic than the movie we got in theaters. Love the throne room with Darkseid. Love Cable's angry Superman with the red eyes. And that Joker scene at the end. Wow.
Yeah, I thought the trailer was okay.
Yeah?
I thought it was okay. The ending of the trailer I thought was great because I really like Jared Leto's Joker. And so I thought that was a great...
He looks so different than...
He does look different, which I'm always a little iffy on one director completely changing the work of another director. That's kind of been one of the whole impetuses behind Snyder Cut in the first place.
The situation is very unique.
But that said, I really do like Jared Leto's Joker, and I love that Zack Snyder decided to put that in there.
Yeah.
The rest of the trailer, I said this today on the show, it's like maybe it's just because I'm so used to Zack Snyder's DC trailers being so epically great. Like the Man of Steel trailer. The first Justice League trailer that debuted at Comic-Con is probably the second best comic book movie trailer of all time, only barely behind the Logan trailer with the Johnny Cash, I hurt myself today. I mean, that's like the greatest comic book trailer of all time. But right close to that, I believe, is that Justice League trailer. This one was like, hey, look, here's this guy standing here. And oh, look, here's this other guy standing here. Here's a few shots that you've already seen. Here's another guy standing there. Here's another couple of shots you've seen. Here's a new shot of kind of the same circumstance, but it's a little bit different. Oh, look, Superman, the color of his costume is black. Blah, blah. And then it got to the end, it's like Joker. And I'm like, oh, okay. So there was nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was good, but I'm just so used to being spoiled by Zack Snyder trailers that I'm like, really? That's it? That's the trailer? I mean, it was fine. It was good. Great ending. but I didn't actually think it was all that great. What did you think about it? You and I haven't talked about this.
Oh, I loved the trailer. I love the trailer. There was some cool transitions they did. There was one where, as I said, Ray, how am I losing his name? Cyborg. Superman was flying, and as he was going up, it just like transitioned into Cyborg going up, and I loved that. But when I saw it, it really, because we know it's going to be a lot of stuff we already saw, but it's going to be a lot of new stuff. And so what I liked is that it made me go, oh, where's he going with that? Oh, what was his take on that? Oh, look at the villain. Like, oh, who's this other guy? Like, and this bigger guy. Oh, I thought that was Steppenwolf. It was intriguing. My overall word for it was really intriguing, and it did make me really excited to see it, especially since it's going to be broken up into, what is it, 4 parts?
No, they
or
changed
something.
that.
Or what'd they change it to?
Yep, they've decided to just put it out as one 4-hour movie.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Which I think is a bad sign.
Well, in my house, it'll be 4 parts because
we're not sitting down for 4 hours to watch it straight.
Yeah, I was really intrigued, and I really liked it, and I really like Zack Snyder a lot, and I'm so interested to see where he was going to go with it and what his take on it is. I was really intrigued.
I saw some people wrote into my show today too. I saw some criticism about the trailer saying it's just all the same stuff we've already seen. And I don't think that's accurate at all, because I watched that trailer. Because here's the thing. You know, I saw somebody write like, what's the point? Why put in stuff that we've already seen? And why put stuff in the trailer that we've already seen? Well, because not quite, but almost half of this movie is stuff you've already seen.
Yeah.
For them to make a trailer without any of the existing stuff would be dishonest. Like, let's keep almost half the movie out of the trailer. That would be dishonest. But beyond that, I thought there was a good amount of new stuff in the trailer. I mean, like everything from like some of the stuff that was transitional.
Yeah.
We saw the Wonder Woman in the chasm, seeing the dark side thing. We see Cavill in the black. I mean, I thought it was, even though I didn't love the trailer, I thought it was the perfect, appropriate, right balance of
totally agree.
Being honest, this stuff is part of the Snyder cut, but also a good balance of the new stuff involved. I thought it was really
respectful to the fans, because here's the thing: the people that did like Justice League. The idea of this is not to erase what you already know about Justice League. This whole situation is about, here's Zack Snyder's take, here's where he was going to go with it. And the truth is that people have to be reminded, because I think sometimes we get so excited, but you got to remember, it's the same movie, but obviously since he wasn't able to finish it, it's still the same. It's not a completely different film from start to end. It's not totally scrapped, you know? So I think there is an expectation of there's going to be, it's Justice League, it's I'm mixing my words, Zack Snyder's Justice League, you know? It's not like they called it something different and you're like, the heroes of DC, and you're like, why does this look like Justice League? Because it is. It's just his version, and we got to remember that when going in. Yeah.
All right, let's have time for one more question today. What's the next one?
Cara Black says, why do you feel the WandaVision episodes should be longer? Would you rather see Marvel put in every single shot/deleted scene they filmed just so it could be longer, even if it's a detriment/drag to the story? If Marvel feels their episodes best serve the story at 30 to 40 minutes, then that's the right call by them. There should be no reason to make it longer unless it benefits the story. The WandaVision story is on pace to be just barely shorter than the Thanos conflict story and Infinity War /Endgame, by the way.
Here's the reason why. Because I believe, listen, I often tell people that who wants, like, I want movies to be 3 hours. Well, no, just if a movie is great, but the right pacing for that movie is 90 minutes, then it would be less great if you made it 3 hours. And some movies, the right length for those movies is 3 hours. And if you make it shorter than that, it loses its effectiveness. With WandaVision, there are two things. Now, look, clearly, I really like WandaVision. I talk about it a lot. I love WandaVision so far. But my criticism about the length comes from two different directions. On the one direction, you know, these weekly dramas we are conditioned right now that weekly dramas that we watch are an hour long. That is what we are conditioned for. That's what we've come to expect. And so when WandaVision ends, like even my favorite shows like Sons of Anarchy, Game of Thrones, whatever, when those shows end, just like it ends, it's like, okay, yeah, with the end. But when WandaVision ends, it's like, wait a minute, it's over? Like when the please stand by screen comes, it's like, wait a minute.
I always feel like that.
And it's almost jarring when that happens, right?
Yeah.
But compiled on top of that, I also feel while the episodes are great, it does feel a little rushed. It feels like almost every line of dialogue. Like I feel like there are certain things in every episode where certain things happen, and that needs a little bit more room to breathe.
Yeah.
This needs a few more moments of this. This needs another character's perspective on this incredible incident that just happened. I just feel like the episodes themselves are a little frantically paced.
Yes.
And I think every single episode I've seen really could use a little bit more breathing room.
I could totally use more.
With not having to include deleted scenes or whatever, it just feels like that. So when you combine the things that I feel like each episode could have been given a little bit more breathing room, combined with the fact that I feel like when the please stand by thing comes up, it's like, wait a minute, look, there's one thing that we'd be disappointed that it's over. That's what you want. Leave them wanting more, right? But it's different that when you feel jarred that it suddenly ended because it's like, wait a minute, what, already?
Yes.
So I love WandaVision, but those are my critiques. I don't know. What do you think about that as far as the length of the episodes and everything?
I definitely agree with you. And I also feel another reason it feels like that is because we have to remember this has never been done like this, where it's the same characters, same storyline, but we're in the 50s, we're in the 60s, we're in the 80s. In terms of the world building, we get comfortable in it. Like the 70s episode when she was pregnant, I was like comfortable. I was waiting to see someone come in with their, chops and the sideburns, and then it ends. So we're getting comfortable with this, like, oh, Malcolm in the Middle, da, da, da. And I like the feel of this like late, 90s, early 2000s. And just as we're getting used to the feel of it, it's like, yeah. Please stand by. Bye. We'll see you next week. And so I feel like if the whole thing was set in the 50s, we'd feel different about the timing.
I agree.
But you're starting us over. You're restarting the clock every time we get a new episode. So when you say stand by, I'm like, but what about who's the Francis in this episode, which was Malcolm's brother? It's the world building that makes us feel a little disoriented.
I love that observation. And guys, that'll wrap us up. That's all the time we have for today's installment of the companion video. Thank you. Listen, there's still more questions to come, but do not worry, guys. We'll pick up on this on the John Campea Show tomorrow, and then we will probably have another companion video as well, trying to get caught up on all the questions from the weekend. But we will get there, guys. Hey, listen. Thank you to all of you for taking time out of your day to come hang out with us and talk about our favorite things in the world. Special thank you to all you guys who sent in these questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved here at the John Campea YouTube channel, thank you guys very, very much for that. I want to thank, of course, Kimberly Curran over here. Kimberly, where can people follow you online?
You guys can find me on Instagram. It's wasgood, Kimberly, Kimberly. Yeah,
awesome to know. Good to have you here again. And you guys can just follow me on my various social media channels, just at John Campea. That will do it for me for now, guys. Remember, do the four main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.